Before skyscrapers, before the Bund, before Shanghai became China's financial capital, there was only a winding river flowing quietly through the wetlands of the Yangtze Delta. Long before maps marked this place as Shanghai, small fishing families lived beside the Huangpu River, following the rhythm of the tides. The river was their lifeline, providing fish, fertile land, transportation, and opportunity. Every generation built upon the last, expanding tiny riverside settlements one house at a time. Nothing here suggested the rise of one of humanity's greatest megacities, yet history often begins in places that seem ordinary. As centuries passed, the Huangpu River became much more than a source of survival. It connected distant villages across eastern China, allowing merchants, farmers, and craftsmen to exchange goods and ideas. Families migrating south brought new agricultural techniques, improved irrigation, and specialized skills. Small communities slowly transformed into thriving river towns, where commerce became part of everyday life. Without realizing it, the people living along these banks were laying the first foundations of Shanghai. During the Tang Dynasty, prosperity spread across the Yangtze Delta. The river became one of eastern China's busiest commercial highways, carrying silk, grain, ceramics, timber, and countless other goods between inland China and the coast. Warehouses appeared beside the docks, marketplaces expanded, and trade flourished. By the 8th century, the quiet fishing settlement had become an increasingly important regional trading center, with the river shaping both its economy and its future. The arrival of the Song Dynasty accelerated everything. China entered one of the greatest commercial revolutions in history, and the lower Yangtze became its beating heart. Ships arrived daily carrying merchandise, technology, culture, and opportunity. The waterfront grew larger every decade as merchants established permanent businesses and markets expanded in every direction. The river no longer connected only nearby villages. It linked Shanghai to the wider world. By the year 1200, the settlement had become one of eastern China's busiest river ports. Commerce brought prosperity, while government administration grew alongside economic success. Then, in 1292, history quietly changed forever. Shanghai was officially established as a county. What appeared to be a simple administrative decision marked the true birth of the city. From that moment forward, Shanghai was no longer merely a riverside settlement. It had become a recognized city whose destiny would forever be shaped by trade, shipping, and the sea. Prosperity inevitably attracted danger. During the Ming dynasty, pirate raids repeatedly threatened China's eastern coastline. Merchants who had created enormous wealth now needed protection. In 1553, massive stone walls surrounded Shanghai. Gates controlled access to the city, while soldiers defended its growing population. Behind those walls, however, commerce never slowed. Cotton, silk, grain, handicrafts, and shipbuilding transformed Shanghai into one of the richest commercial centers in the Yangtze Delta. By the 18th century, Shanghai had become one of the busiest ports in the Qing Empire. Every tide carried enormous wealth. Boats loaded with tea, silk, cotton, porcelain, and grain departed daily for markets across China. Merchants became increasingly prosperous, and the city's influence spread throughout Eastern Asia. Despite its success, Shanghai remained unmistakably Chinese. Ancient walls still enclosed the city, traditional neighborhoods lined the narrow streets, and life followed patterns established centuries earlier. Everything changed in 1842. Following the Treaty of Nanking, Shanghai was forced to open its ports to foreign powers. The city's long isolation ended almost overnight. Steamships entered the harbor. International merchants established trading companies. Banks, insurance firms, shipping offices, and modern businesses quickly transformed the waterfront. For the first time, Shanghai became one of the world's truly international cities. Along the Huangpu River, elegant European-style buildings replaced many traditional wooden structures. Telegraph lines connected Shanghai to distant capitals. Electricity illuminated streets that had once depended on lanterns. Trams carried passengers across rapidly expanding neighborhoods. The Bund emerged as the symbol of a new era, a magnificent waterfront where Eastern traditions met Western technology and global finance. Ironically, while the Bund became increasingly modern, the opposite bank of the Huangpu remained almost entirely rural. Pudong consisted largely of farmland, fishing villages, and scattered houses. Few people could imagine that one day this quiet countryside would become one of the most recognizable skylines on Earth. As the 20th century began, Shanghai entered its golden age. The fall of the Qing dynasty in 1911 accelerated modernization. Banks financed international trade. Luxury department stores attracted wealthy shoppers. Grand hotels welcomed visitors from around the globe. Jazz clubs filled the evenings with music, while automobiles, electric trams, cinemas, and modern skyscrapers reshaped the city's rhythm. By the late 1920s, Shanghai had become Asia's most cosmopolitan metropolis, earning the famous nickname, the Paris of the East. Its prosperity seemed unstoppable. Then came 1937. The Battle of Shanghai shattered decades of remarkable growth. One of the largest urban battles of the 20th century devastated the city. Streets once filled with music, fashion, and commerce became battlefields. Buildings burned. Businesses closed. Families fled. Years of occupation followed, replacing prosperity with hardship and uncertainty. Although Shanghai survived the Second World War, its golden age had come to an abrupt end. Another transformation arrived in 1949, when communist forces entered the city. The era of foreign concessions ended, and Shanghai entered a completely new chapter. Finance gave way to manufacturing. Textile mills, steel factories, shipyards, engineering works, and heavy industry became the engines of the city's economy. Throughout the following decades, Shanghai quietly became the industrial heart of modern China, producing machinery and manufactured goods on a scale unmatched anywhere else in the country. For many years, the skyline appeared almost unchanged, but beneath the surface, another revolution was preparing to begin. In 1978, China launched its reform and opening up policy. Investment returned. Economic reforms accelerated growth. New opportunities emerged almost overnight. Then, in 1990, the government announced the creation of Pudong New Area, beginning one of the most ambitious urban development projects in human history. Construction cranes quickly dominated the skyline. Highways, bridges, tunnels, airports, and metro lines expanded in every direction. The Oriental Pearl Tower became the symbol of Shanghai's rebirth, followed by the Jin Mao Tower, the Shanghai World Financial Center, and eventually Shanghai Tower, the tallest building in China. What had been quiet farmland, only a few years earlier, transformed into a forest of glass and steel. Few cities in history have changed so dramatically in such a short time. Within barely 3 decades, Shanghai reinvented itself once again, becoming one of the world's leading financial centers. The contrast between the historic Bund and futuristic Pudong created one of the most iconic skylines on Earth, perfectly illustrating the city's unique ability to preserve its past while embracing the future. Today, Shanghai continues to evolve. Innovation, artificial intelligence, sustainable development, high-speed transportation, advanced manufacturing, and one of the world's busiest container ports define its modern identity. Every year, millions of people contribute new ideas, new buildings, and new technologies to a city that has never stopped changing. From a quiet fishing village beside the Huangpu River to a global metropolis recognized around the world, Shanghai's journey spans more than 2,000 years of continuous transformation. Every dynasty, every generation, every challenge, and every opportunity left another layer upon the city. The river that once carried small wooden fishing boats now reflects forests of skyscrapers stretching toward the clouds. And as impressive as Shanghai is today, its story is still being written.